Loaded show here on Dolphins Today by Chat Sports. I am Nic Rohloff. QB1 Tua Tagovailoa spoke out against former head coach Brian Flores. I believe that the Dolphins have a backup quarterback issue that they need to address. And then lastly, Storm Duck, the UDFA out of Louisville, former North Carolina Tar Heel as well. Is he going to make the 53-man roster? We'll talk about all of this on today's episode. We'll start with Tua Tagovailoa bashing Brian Flores. Remember this rumors meter? Oh, yeah. Well, if you didn't, just know that 4 means it's absolutely happening, which is what I'm giving Tua Tagovailoa bashing Brian Flores, because Tua woke up and shows violence on this Dan Le Batard interview this morning. Tagovailoa said that if you woke up every morning and I told you that you suck at what you did, that you don't belong, that you shouldn't be here, that you haven't earned this, and then someone come and tells you you are the best fit for this, how that make you feel? And that first part, I think, is very telling, because he's clearly just talking about Brian Flores and how he was treated by the former Miami Dolphins head coach. And I just really can't even fathom the fact that he would do that. Listen, I can understand if Brian Flores, when he took the job at Dolphins head coach, didn't want to draft Tua Tagovailoa with the 5th overall pick, and he wanted to go elsewhere. But in order to get the most out of your young quarterback, you just simply can't talk to him that way. And I don't really care if some people think it's a soft mindset from Tua. I don't think anybody in the entire world wants to go into their job every single day and be constantly told that they shouldn't be there, they suck at what they do. Like, that's just not right, man. And I think it's very telling that we've been able to see Tua Tagovailoa blossom over the past 2 seasons with Coach Mike McDaniel as the head coach. Like, there is night and day in Miami Dolphins organization between Brian Flores and McDaniel. I just am not really shocked by how other players have also talked about Brian Flores in the past, and it's really just frustrated the heck out of me. I like that Tua took to the social media and media airwaves to go absolutely bash Brian Flores. I want to show Tua some support. I want to look in the comment section and see all of the Dolphins fans have Tagovailoa's back right now. Spam those ones, spam those unos down below in the comment section to show Tua some love. And we talked about this in the past, but with Mike McDaniel's head coach and compared to not Mike McDaniel's head coach, Tua's played in 4 years in the NFL, 2 years with Flores, 2 years with Mike McDaniel. And the difference in productivity from the lefty is night and day. Just think of the first 2 years. Yes, he only played in 23 games due to not starting right away, injuries, but still, in 7 less games, he threw for 3,700 less yards. He threw for 27 less touchdowns. He had a terrible QB rating. Like, it is so clear. And sure, maybe you could say Mike McDaniel is an offensive genius, a scheme guru. That's the reason why Tagovailoa is now much better than he was with Brian Flores. But it's also, to me, just the confidence. Like, if you are being told you suck, you might think you suck, which means you don't have the confidence to go out there and deliver on Sundays. And like a lot of sports, you need to be one of the top 1% cocky, confident people to be out there and do your job correctly. It's absolutely necessary to have that confidence to believe you are the number 1 player in the world at what you do. And that's why some of these players make it and they don't. You go to other leagues too. If you don't think you can get the job done, you don't think you can come and rise to the occasion in big moments, then it's just simply not going to happen. And the last thing I'll say here on Brian Flores, as a leader of men, you need to be able to inspire and provide confidence to your guys. It is very, very evident that Brian Flores was not able to do that, and it's no surprise to me that he got booted out of Miami as quickly as he did. Really smart guy, good defensive coordinator, but to lead a group of men and be the face of an organization, you need to inspire confidence in your team, inspire confidence in your fans, and in the front office. And Brian Flores absolutely did not do that. All right, let's transition over to the backup quarterback issue that I believe Miami has. How many fins am I giving it? Oh, I'm giving it 4, which means it's absolutely happening. They have an issue. I do not like what I've seen from Skylar Thompson or Mike White through 2 weeks of the NFL preseason, and I am seriously concerned about the backup QB spot. Like, it's a legitimate concern, folks, and I know some people might say, well, Tua is supposed to play all 14 or 17 games and more, like we shouldn't have to worry about the backup quarterback. But I think it's important, just in case something does end up happening, that you have at least a little bit of confidence in that backup to come in and not have the craziest drop-off of all time. And what we've seen this preseason isn't going to instill that into you. They've both thrown the same amount of passes, 34 apiece. And Skylar Thompson has completed one more, 14 more yards, one more touchdown, one pick, slightly better QB rating. But this is not a time to have a conversation about who's the better backup quarterback at this point. This is a conversation about how both of them have been very, very bad and how this can't really continue for the Miami Dolphins. There is so many injuries that occur in the NFL season to quarterbacks. If your starting quarterback misses 1 or 2 games, it's not the end of the world, but if you have a backup that is basically guaranteeing you a loss because they can't go out there and play, well, then it's a little bit concerning. We'll have more on the conversation here, but we are sponsored by Game Time, the #1 ticketing app in North America. It's what I use to get my tickets, whether it's going to concerts, comedy shows, sporting events. And I implore you to use Game Time when you're going to events. I love the fact that they have the best deals. Like, they have zone deals, flash deals. They have the best things to make sure you are getting the lowest price guaranteed. You also can toggle the all-in pricing feature, which is my personal favorite feature, because I hate getting blindsided at checkout that a ticket is more expensive than it actually was shown. For example, if you're looking for a Dolphins versus Jaguars ticket for opening day, it might say ticket's $150. But if you don't have that all-in pricing, you go to checkout, $250. That can't happen. So I like the all-in pricing so I know exactly how much I'd be paying for each ticket before I go to checkout. They also have panoramic views from your seat, so you will never be blindsided by your view of the field or concert area. It doesn't matter. You will be able to see exactly where your seat is. Take the guesswork out of buying sports tickets and concert tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app. Make sure you create an account and use code ChatSports for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply, but again, create that account and redeem code ChatSports, ChatSports, for $20 off your first purchase. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Download Game Time today. All right, continuing the conversation with the backup quarterbacks, I absolutely believe this needs to be addressed via trade, via signing. It does not matter, but I do not want to roll with Skylar Thompson and Mike White in this upcoming year. And some of you might say, well, they need to get more run with the runs. I don't want to see them play with the ones. That's not going to happen. And I know everybody has a different opinion on sports, right? It just depends on what you see, you believe, and all I'm going to come up here and tell you is what I honestly feel with this Miami Dolphins team, and I will never lie to you. I'm going to tell you exactly how I feel in my brain and my heart is telling me that these two are just not it, and they have to go in a different direction. The best free agent quarterback available is Ryan Tannehill. There's really no other player out there in free agency that I would even waste signing. We've talked about Tannehill. We talked an entire episode last week about how I believe signing Ryan Tannehill would benefit Miami. And I know he's probably waiting to see if a quarterback goes down in the preseason here and he needs to be picked up to start right away. I don't know if that's going to happen. So I would bring in Tannehill on a cheap contract if I was Chris Grier. But if they don't want to go that direction, I think there are some solid trade options that could be available. I have these 8 quarterbacks targeted, and Justin Fields is one of them on Pittsburgh, but I actually do believe he will stay put in Steeler land because they don't have the most confidence in Russell Wilson. I also don't think Justin Fields is actually a good scheme fit in Miami. You need to be quick, decisive, and accurate in this system that Mike McDaniel runs, and Fields just is not that. Jameis Winston is interesting to me. Sam Howell is interesting to me. Andy Dalton is also interesting, a veteran who can really read a defense, be precise, make quick decisions. But an underrated player I wanted to mention here is actually Tanner McKee, the quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles. And the reason why I mention him is because he technically is the third-string quarterback behind Jalen Hurts and Kenny Pickett, who the Eagles traded for this offseason. But I watched Tanner McKee play in the preseason against the New England Patriots, and he was very accurate. He's a tall, lengthy quarterback that has decent arm talent, can hit outside routes really, really precisely. And I think in a Dolphin system where he just can make quick, easy read, fire over the middle of the field, have elite wide receiver speed to play with. McKee can actually be someone that I would trust if Tua Tagovailoa went down with injury. It would be bold, but a late round pick going to Philadelphia for Tanner McKee could actually be the way the Dolphins solve their backup quarterback issue, because I do have no confidence in Skylar Thompson or Mike White. All right, make sure you are subscribed to the channel because we're going to have daily content around the Miami Dolphins. And hey, we even might bring you 2 videos a day at times. So make sure you hit that sub button. Also live for every single Dolphins game and our weekly live show on Tuesdays. Join the channel. We just crossed 58K subs. Appreciate everyone for hitting that sub button. All right, lastly, Storm Duck, the UDFA from Louisville. Is he going to make the 53-man roster on roster cutdown day for the Dolphins? I'm going to give it 2 fins, which means people are talking. Not going to give it that 3 or 4 where it's going to happen or it's likely, but I do think there is a decent chance. He's been absolutely balling in the preseason so far for the Dolphins. And it's undeniable when you watch him play late in these games in the 3rd and 4th quarter that he's been one of the best cornerbacks for the Miami Dolphins in these games. Like, you look at his PFF grades and statistics in the first 2 preseason games, he's been terrific. In week 1 against the Falcons, had a decent coverage grade, only allowed 1 catch on 4 targets, and had a PBU. But last week is when he really shined late in that game with the Commanders trying to make a late game comeback. He played in 38 snaps, had a PFF grade of 86.8, coverage grade of 88.1, a PBU, did not allow a reception while being targeted 4 times. He was actually also the number 1 graded defender on the Miami Dolphins in that game against the Commanders. He has been doing everything possible to give him the best chance to make this Dolphins 53-man roster. The issue, though, is that there isn't a lot of room for Storm Duck on this roster. The cornerback department for Miami is arguably one of their best rooms in their entire roster. I think wide receiver, running back, and corner, you could put them in any type of order, but that's what I truly believe. When you've got Ramsey and Fuller on the outside, that's not going to change. Cater Kohu is your starting nickel. That's not going to change. Nick Needham, I believe, is kept on this roster due to his versatility of being a nickel corner, backup corner, is all in safety as well. Ethan Bonner has had a terrific camp and looks like he's going to be on this team. Cam Smith, the 2nd-round pick from 2023, although got hurt and is week to week, if he doesn't start on the IR, he's definitely going to be on this team. And Saron Neal's also played extremely well for this Dolphins team in the preseason. Like, it's an unfortunate uphill battle for Duck. Like, I'd hope that he stays on this practice squad, but I don't think Miami has enough room for Storm to be on this 53-man roster. So if he gets cut or puts on the practice squad of Miami, it's likely that another team will probably scoop him up and put him on their 53-man roster. Like, I just don't see him beating out Cam Smith, Ethan Bonner, Saron Neal, or Nick Needham. I think it's very unlikely. It's unfortunate because I'd love to have Storm Duck on this team. It's just one of those rare situations that Miami just has too many good corners. It's a good problem to have. But you predict it for me. Will Storm Duck make the 53-man roster of the Miami Dolphins? Maybe I'm wrong, and you can tell me that right in the comment section. Type Y for yes or type N for no. I did want to mention the date for roster cutdown day. August 27th is that day. It is when the Dolphins roster go from 90 to 53. A lot of cuts, and we will make sure you are covered with a video on that day, when it happens, when it's official, when the 53-man Dolphins roster is announced. So make sure you are subscribed to the channel, daily coverage, but make sure you also are up to date on the Dolphins roster when it gets officially announced on that day of August 27th. I'll see you tomorrow with another video, and make sure you join us for our live show on Tuesday afternoon. Go Fins.